Hello, good evening. Welcome to Northwest Tonight with Roger Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Our top story. Vivian had her inheritance seized after being overpaid carers allowance. A whistleblower tells us that thousands of cases were flagged but ignored.
This is how people have built up years and years of overpayments. At the very least, any convictions should be quashed.
The Department of Work and Pensions says it is right to reclaim taxpayers' money. Also tonight, a nuclear-powered boost for Cheshire, the £200 million plan to build Europe's first advanced uranium fuel plant. We're out on the hills with the Blackburn women training to take on one of Africa's toughest mountains. I'll be talking to the mum of cancer campaigner Laura Nuttall about the new book that she hopes will help others.
And it may well have been mostly dry today, but we are just at risk of seeing a few heavy showers break out over the next few days. Join me later in the programme for a full forecast.
You might remember a few weeks ago we reported how a court had seized the inheritance of a Cheshire woman because she'd been overpaid carers allowance for looking after her mum. Other media reports of other cases have followed, and now a former senior manager at the Department of Work and Pensions has told us that the DWP systems were warning about the overpayments, but staff did nothing about it. So the overpayments to unwitting recipients continued. Phil McCann reports.
Vivian and her mum, who she cared for towards the end of her life. But when the inheritance from her house sale was seized in court last month, it started a national conversation.
So Vivian Groom from Cheshire cared for her mother in her final years, and today she was in court to see the government take all the money that her mum left her.
Can we talk a bit about the carers allowance as well, please?
Widely publicised Vivian Groom overpayment case.
Unpaid carers have shared heartbreaking stories of how they have been hounded by the DWP.
I think what we're calling for at Carers UK is a fundamental review of carers allowance.
I'm blown back, actually. I am blown back. I've been into the shops at Chester and I could hear them say, "There's that lady, you have to tell me."
Vivian was prosecuted because she didn't declare her minimum wage job here at the local co-op in Tarvin near Chester when she was getting carers allowance for caring for her mum.
I mean, I was told by a social worker, I could do it. And I did it. And 5 years down the line, I was told, no.
We've also featured George from Leyland, who cared for his son. George was prosecuted and found guilty after failing to declare his job as a taxi driver while claiming carers allowance. In both cases, the Crown Prosecution Service has defended its actions. It says the form used to claim the benefit has this question: have you been employed at any time since 6 months before the date you want to claim? They say other pages refer to employment too. They say a prosecution will not be brought where a complainant has made an honest mistake. But in George's case, a DWP appeal, separate to his conviction, concluded his false declaration was not done with fraudulent intent and was more probably an innocent mistake.
This isn't civilised. This is not what the DWP is supposed to be about.
This is Alex. He was a senior manager at the DWP in Preston, where the carers allowance team is mostly based. He's speaking out because, as of last year, more than 10,000 others had been being overpaid thousands of pounds of the allowance over years, despite an automatic system here that gives notifications warning recipients may be being wrongly paid.
Those notifications came in the form of printed paper slips, and I'm told that over a period of some years, between 2009 and 2019, they were stockpiled. They were put into piles, hundreds of thousands of them, in that office building,
where they were kept for years. For some of that time, there was a parallel computer system providing alerts, but a report in 2019 found just 12% of those were being looked into.
They stockpiled them instead, and then years down the line, they sent in a target team to investigate them, and this is how people have built up years and years of overpayments.
It's disgusting, really, because if they know you're earning money after so many weeks, they should say, do you know you've gone over?
At the very least, any convictions should be quashed.
Debbie Abrams is an MP for Oldham and Saddleworth. She's on the committee of MPs that scrutinises the DWP.
If it's over a period of time, going back several years, I personally think it should be written off. Why, given that the DWP has this notification by HMRC, haven't they done anything about it?
The DWP says it's committed to fairness in the welfare system, adding claimants have a responsibility to inform them of any changes in their circumstances that could impact their award. It is right, they say, that we recover taxpayers' money when this has not occurred. Phil McCann, BBC North West Tonight.
Next this evening, a Stockport nursery worker who is on trial for the manslaughter of a 9-month-old girl in her care has told a court that she feels responsible for her death but does not accept that her actions caused it. 37-year-old Kate Ruffley repeated that she felt no ill will towards Genevieve Meehan, who died after being found unresponsive at the Tiny Toes nursery in May 2022. Let's go live to Kevin Fitzpatrick. He's at Manchester Crown Court for us this evening. Listen to the evidence in court today. So what did the court hear, Kev?
Well, this was the second day of cross-examination by the defence, and as yesterday, the court and the jury were shown CCTV footage from the baby's room at the nursery, in particular interactions between Kate Ruffley and the babies and Genevieve. And when she was frustrated that Genevieve wouldn't sleep, she made comments and sang songs. She said Genevieve changed the record when she was crying. She said, "Genevieve, go home. Genevieve, you're driving me bananas." On the day Genevieve died, she was singing "Genevieve, go home. Genevieve, go home." Now, the defendant said that this was just without malice. These were just comments that she made and songs she sang to try and deal with the number of children that she had. At one point in the footage, she was the only carer in the room with 10 babies. The prosecution, though, says that for some reason she developed hostility towards Genevieve. That was something that Kate Ruffley denied today.
And Kevin, there were questions for the defendant about whether she felt responsible for the child's death.
Yes, and this was in the closing comments from the defendant. She was asked if she felt responsible, and she said she did because baby Genevieve was in her care, but she didn't accept that her actions had caused her death. CCTV was shown of the moments leading up to Genevieve being found unresponsive, and the prosecution said that she was placed in a beanbag on a front strapped to it and that she wasn't properly checked. Well, Kate Ruffley insisted that all the way through that she was properly checking her and that her face was to the side and that she could breathe. And she said that never a day goes by when she doesn't think of the family and what they've been through. Well, the case continues. Kate Ruffley denies manslaughter and an alternative charge of cruelty, and the prosecution are expected to question her tomorrow.
Kevin, thank you. Kevin Fitzpatrick. Now, Esther Jai, whose daughter Brianna was murdered in Warrington last year, has joined other parents in writing to the Prime Minister and the Labour leader to urge them to do more to protect young people online. The media regulator Ofcom has published a draft code with new safety measures, but the parents who've met the Ofcom bosses say that it lacks ambition. Brianna was murdered by 2 teenagers who had accessed harmful content online.
I'd like to know what the reaction of the social media companies have been.
These companies are on the west coast of America mostly, and they don't really hear and understand quite the impact that they're having on British families and on British kids. What we're asking of them in these proposals and in what we've set out already is a really big change.
A £200 million nuclear fuel plant is to be built at Capenhurst in Cheshire. It will be the first advanced enriched uranium plant in Europe outside Russia. And the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said today that Vladimir Putin's blood-stained hands have to be prized off Europe's energy market. Jonas Muller has this report.
Heysham Power Station's 2 reactors will soon be shut down, and in the future nuclear power will rely on new advanced reactors that need a new kind of fuel. Urenco in Capenhurst has been awarded £196 million to build Europe's first facility that will produce high-assay, low-enriched uranium.
There's a kind of chicken and egg scenario, which is the developers of the reactors can't move until there's a fuel, and the fuel suppliers, ourselves, aren't able to move until there's a product for us to go to. So what the government has done is unlock this.
These advanced reactors are more efficient and better at generating low-carbon electricity. The government says it would support 400 highly skilled jobs and produce up to 10 tonnes of the fuel per year by 2031. That's as much energy as more than 1 million tonnes of coal. The government says this new advanced fuel is key to its ambitions to quadruple UK's nuclear capacity by 2050. It would also end Russia's position as the only commercial producer of this kind of fuel. Kazakhstan is a vital source of uranium, and following the Ukraine invasion, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said a UK plant is necessary to prise Putin's blood-soaked hands off Europe's energy market.
It's the biggest investment that's been made in fuel production in this country in decades, and the fact that it's been made in Northwest at Capenhurst is really important as well, because in the Northwest nearly all of the fuel for the UK reactors is made in the Northwest, both at Capenhurst and the Springfield site near Preston.
The wider aim, the government says, is to guarantee nuclear and energy security, and for householders, reduce their energy bills. Eunice Muller, BBC Northwest Tonight, Capenhurst.
The government's ordered an inspection into Warrington Borough Council. The Minister for Local Government, Simon Hoare, said today that the council's debt of £1.8 billion is a clear financial risk. The council says it will cooperate fully with the inspection.
This is really serious. Warrington has debts far in excess of any of our neighbours, and I'm really pleased that the government has taken action today to start to look at what needs to happen to turn around the problems at Warrington.
Meanwhile, Liverpool City Council is to take back control of its finance, property and regeneration departments after being run by government-appointed commissioners. For the last 3 years, they had said that it was dysfunctional, but believe enough progress has been made to hand back control, although some government advisers will stay until next year.
I think certainly getting the formal intervention ended on time and all of our powers returned genuinely is a huge achievement for us. But we'd be very honest and very mature that there's still further improvements we've got to make for a council. So, we're kind of very comfortable with the idea of working with an improvement board for the next 9 months to conclude that work by March of next year.
A quick congratulations to the team at BBC Radio Manchester, which was named Station of the Year at the ARIAs last night, the so-called Radio Oscars. It also won an award for a community initiative teaching life-saving skills. BBC Lancashire and BBC Merseyside received silver awards. Now, we often report on this programme on innovative ideas to tackle dementia, but I think this one could be a first. It is an orchestra. The Manchester Camerata has been given more than £1 million to work with the Alzheimer's Society to deliver music cafes and therapy sessions to more than 1,000 people living with dementia across that city region. Juliette Phillips has got this report.
Music as a form of medicine. This workshop at Gorton Monastery sees people with dementia and their carers playing alongside musicians from Manchester's Camerata Orchestra. For John and his daughter Jo, it's the highlight of their week.
Have a try on the drums.
You've had a good try on the drums, yeah?
Yeah. But I can only play them loud.
I know you can, yeah. You don't like the bells, do you? When it goes to the bells, you're a bit, what are these? What do we do here with the bells? You want the drums?
Oh, you've got to give it some welly on the drums,
relax, yeah. You like welly in it, don't you? Yeah.
It's good.
So no, we have a good time and puts you in a good mood, doesn't it?
More workshops like this one will be rolled out across Greater Manchester, thanks to a £1 million funding boost. Amina, who runs these sessions, has seen the difference music can make.
People arrive at the sessions and they might have had a bad night or a bad few days, and they come because their carers or their family members know that they love it when they get here. And then by the end of the session, they seem like quite different people. They're much more themselves, much more in tune with how they're feeling and like lifted spirits.
The new funding will also support the Alzheimer's Society's Singing for the Brain programme. An army of 300 community volunteers will be recruited to support the rollout of this mammoth musical project.
You just have to have an interest in music, be a people person, want to make a difference for people with dementia and carers, and just want to come along and have a fantastic experience in a singing group where people just sort of become alive and animated in that situation. So rewarding to see, and we want people who would really love to do that sort of thing.
It's hoped in the long term the model will be scaled up and rolled out across the UK. For Colette, the impact these sessions are having on her father-in-law Alan is already clear to see.
It's difficult to pinpoint one thing that makes it so worthwhile, but it's definitely something that enhances his life.
Juliette Phillips, BBC North West Tonight, Gorton.
Best of luck to Wanderers. Sale Sharks' star centre Manu Tuilagi is preparing for his last home game before leaving to play in France next season. The Sharks, who are still fighting for a place in the end-of-season playoffs, take on Manu's former club Leicester, wouldn't you know it, on Friday. The England star's move to Bayonne is also likely to bring an end to his glittering international career. Well, I caught up with the big centre, not always a good idea, after training earlier today.
Excited. Obviously, it's the last home game for Sales. It's special.
How much are you going to miss being here at Sale Sharks?
And I miss it so much. I love the boys up here. Good people, and my time here it's been amazing.
And you've built up a bond with the fans, Manu. I mean, you've had injury problems, but they've always been with you. How much do you appreciate that?
So much. They always come out and you can hear them. It gives you that extra boost.
What about memories here, Manu? If you had to pick one moment, what might that be?
A lot of memories here. It's a nice balance that we have here at the club.
You're going to get an amazing reception from both ends of the stadium actually on Friday, aren't you? But what would it mean to you, Manu, to go out, if everything works out this season, and go out on a high by winning the title?
Be a bonus really, and we have to perform every weekend, and then we go out there on the field and enjoy it, and be the same on Friday.
Sheer power of Tuilagi.
Just a final question, Manu. How much have you enjoyed living in the Northwest, and what will you miss about living here?
I say I love it. Like beautiful people. I think that's the thing I miss the most.
All right, well, everybody will miss you, Manu. We wish you all the best in France.
Thank you.
Wouldn't it be great if you could go off on a high? Now, a group of women from Blackburn are building up to the challenge of a lifetime, led by leading martial artist and mountaineer Zee Jogi. They'll be climbing the highest mountain in North Africa next month. They're being supported on their training hikes by dozens of other women from across the county, and I joined them on a walk up Pendle Hill. A walk up Pendle Hill for a group of women from Lancashire, hiking for a purpose, with a climb up Morocco's Mount Tuilagi, the highest peak in North Africa, in their sights.
It's their first ever international trek and their first ever mountain that they'll be climbing, which is at a very high altitude. So it's quite scary for a few people, but for me it's very exciting.
Zee is the driving force behind June's charity trek, which will see only a handful of women take on the 4,167 metre mountain. But dozens more from across Lancashire are supporting them, and at the same time enjoying the great outdoors together.
It's just amazing, it's fantastic. I mean, we've got all walks of life, we've got all ages, all sizes, but everybody just pulls together and helps each other out and supports each other.
1, 2.
Support that, like the other climbers taking on the Morocco Challenge, Seema has certainly received at Zee Jogi's Self-Defence Academy, which helps women in her Blackburn community to keep physically and mentally fit, as do the training walks, of course. It's great to see today, Zee, what's happening. How proud are you of some of the women? Because not everybody would have wanted to be involved at the beginning.
Yeah, I think that people are quite reluctant and quite scared of hiking because it is quite a scary feeling climbing up mountains. But once they do it, they feel that achievement by climbing the summit. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, and you can see what they're getting out of it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right, let's keep going.
Excited to see what's going on today. It's lovely. People who've never walked up a hill before, getting there and doing their best is just wonderful to see.
I've obviously got loads of health issues going on behind the closed doors, but I do try to take a little step every day, and that's when I do it. I show people you can do it as well. If I can do it, you can.
A can-do attitude that the expedition leader has certainly shown. Zee Jogi is an experienced mountaineer with 2 Guinness World Records to her name as well, as part of the world's highest fitness class and obstacle courses at the top of Mount Kilimanjaro.
Really pushing them to the core and doing a lot of big mountains, hopefully, to get them fit enough to be able to climb this mountain and summit successfully.
Something that with Zee's track record, you can bank on. Quite a challenge, Rog, but Zee will make sure that they're ready.
Yeah, brilliant. Richard, thank you very much. Richard with all the sport tonight. Right, we've got the weather in just a moment with Abby, but first, this month marks a year since brain cancer campaigner Laura Nuttall died. You'll know we followed the 23-year-old from Barrowford in Lancashire from her diagnosis through her treatment and that amazing bucket list of experiences that she did. Well, her mum, Nicola, kept a diary during all that time, and she's now written a memoir, which is published tomorrow. I've been to see her, asked her why she wrote it.
I just wanted to tell our story, really, and to, I don't know, keep Laura's memory alive by sharing the whole experience, really, and what she's been through and how she coped with it, and also who she was as a person, and also in the hope that maybe it might help somebody as well who's going through a situation, maybe not the same as ours, but a problem or health issue that puts a pressure on the whole family, because I'm hoping to explain in the story that it's not just one person that goes through a cancer diagnosis, it's the whole family.
But coming up to a year since Laura died, keeping her memory alive is so important for that reason of helping other people. That's why you're doing it now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And we set up Laura's Foundation for that reason as well. And now we've made grants and donations to other research projects, totaling, I think, £85,000 now so far. She hated it every time we had another person diagnosed, another small child dealing with this awful diagnosis. That was the only time she really got upset, was when that happened. So in her memory, we want to help try and move towards, if not a cure, then certainly kinder and more effective treatment.
She said to you, didn't she, that she only really felt she started to live life when she was told she was going to die, which is an incredible thing for a young woman to say and to feel.
She was always planning for a future that actually, as it turned out, she didn't get the future, but she jammed so much into her life, and it was all about, one day I will be fabulous because I'll be all these things, but actually what we need to do is appreciate that this day is fabulous, and we need to enjoy what we have now rather than spend all the time thinking about, well, when I move house or I get a new job or I lose 2 stone, then my life will begin. This is it. This is the life that we've got, and we take it for granted, I think.
And for the family, it's not the first time that you had tragedy. You talk in the book about your sister who died when she was very young, and you named Laura after her.
Yeah.
And you wanted to make your parents happy, and you said actually what you've ended up doing is breaking their heart again.
Yeah. I made them relive it a second time, which was really hard because they had to go through the loss of their granddaughter, but also seeing us go through the devastation that they went through. So that's been really tough for them. And you know, I named her Laura with the best will in the world. I would never have imagined in a million years that we'd be grieving a second Laura.
Let's talk about some of the happy things in the
Yes.
book, because you, in that time that we followed Laura's journey, did some amazing things.
Yes, we did. We had some fantastic adventures, and we were so lucky in that people supported us with those adventures, and we had a bucket list, and lots of those, virtually everything on the bucket list was ticked off, but then it was added to by people that said, well, how about doing this? And we have seen the best of human nature. We've seen so much kindness. And those memories were so precious because when things were tough and when she was poorly, we had this amazing album, this kind of mental album to look back on.
And so much of that happened because of social media.
Yeah.
Because right at the beginning, you sat in a dark kitchen and set up a Twitter account, which brought the whole world into the story.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because social media is blamed for such a lot of things, and I don't think it's necessarily always a good thing. But in our situation, we ended up with a team of people, an international team of people who were so in our corner all the way, and they were supportive, and they came up with ideas. And when things were dark and we were struggling, they would share their stories and encourage us. And so her story has just gone so far and wide, and a life that has touched so many other lives isn't a life wasted, is it? Even if it was short.
The Stars Will Still Be There is out tomorrow. It was an emotional interview in more ways than one. Right, let's move on with the weather. Abby is here. Summer Almost. Taste of it.
Yes, we'll go with spring for now.
Glorious.
And it might feel like summer at the weekend. Yeah, temperatures are rising. Most places saw some sunshine today. Thank you to our weather watchers, as always. They were out in full force sending these photos in. But of course, it was a bit of a misty, murky, cloudy start. And some places along the Irish Sea coast have been stuck under some of this cloud during the course of the day today. Very similar conditions for tomorrow, mostly dry. We will see some sunshine and it will, I think, feel a little bit warmer than it has been today. High pressure keeping our weather settled as we head towards the end of the week and through the weekend. Temperatures, if anything, are set to rise. We could see about 24 or 25 degrees in one or two places this weekend. Overnight tonight, I do think we'll see cloud bubbling up a little bit, perhaps some patchy light rain, but into the early hours of tomorrow morning, a lot of that cloud will break, and under any clearer skies, given the lighter winds, we may well see some mist and fog reforming. These will be our temperatures as we start the day tomorrow, so nothing too chilly, 9 or 10 degrees. So quite a lot of low cloud, mist and fog, a similar sort of start, quite murky in one or two places to what we had today. But we will see increasing amounts of sunshine, so into the afternoon it should be dry, sunny and warm. Still a bit of stubborn cloud along the Irish Sea coast, perhaps the Isle of Man struggling under some of that cloud in terms of the temperatures. So a contrast really from around 14 or 15 to as high as 20 or 21 degrees inland in that sunshine. As we head towards the end of the week and the weekend, our pollen levels are certainly set to rise. It's that increased sunshine. Temperatures are pretty spot on at the moment to really bolster those pollen levels. So if you are a hay fever sufferer, you may want to take note. The next few days are going to stay settled and we will continue to see some sunshine, so high pollen levels and high pressure. And the oranges on the map, so we're staying in that milder air mass as we head through the weekend. Into the start of next week, I think those temperatures will drop back slightly, but they will still be above average for the time of year. So this Friday is looking then very similar, not a lot of rain on the map at all. It looks to be a mostly dry day, bit of a misty and murky start, but gradually into the afternoon we will see that warm sunshine developing. So temperatures even higher, 22 or 23 degrees. And although we could see a couple of showers this weekend, 1 or 2 on the heavy side, there will be plenty of dry, sunny and warm weather in the forecast, Rog.
Not too bad. I went a bit early. My lawn was in a terrible state, so I lobbed some grass seed down, but it was about a month ago. And it hasn't really got going, and I'm sure I went too soon.
Oh, you peaked too soon.
Yeah, shocker. Never mind, at least it's getting better. Abby, thank you very much. Lovely to see you. That's it from us. Katie's here with the late news at 10:30. Have a great evening. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.